I'm your neighborhood reporter, AJ Douglas, in the Cairo neighborhood. I'm your neighborhood reporter, AJ Douglas. I'm your neighborhood reporter, AJ Douglas, in Bainbridge, where a new walk-in clinic. I'm your neighborhood reporter, AJ Douglas, in the Cairo neighborhood. I spent the day in South Georgia talking to a few farmers about the importance of those grants. I'm AJ Douglas here in Bainbridge, and I'm right outside of our courthouse because the district attorney for the South Georgia Judicial District is set forth a petition against a series of revenue bonds initiated by the city of Bainbridge. Now, the DA is saying that court documents reveal that pieces of these revenue bonds, which are just utilities, which usually would be routine, he's saying that court documents reveal that pieces of these utilities could one day be used for something called Project Liberty. That's a pseudonym for pending Project State for Human Medicine. Voters are slowly trickling in. I'm AJ Douglas in Valdosta, Georgia, and we are just ahead of the Senator J.D. Vance rally that will be held today in Valdosta, Georgia. I'm AJ Douglas in the Valdosta neighborhood, and of course I had to have
Malia Thomas.
Yes, your neighborhood reporter Malia Thomas is right here with me. You need a safe place to stay, you're wet, you want to get dry, whatever it is, the Perk Avenue shelter is here for you in partnership with the Salvation Army. They're going to be open and here and available to neighbors in Valdosta as long as they need it. They say they are going to be here, and it's getting a little crazy. You see the trees are starting to go crazy. The wind is kind of going crazy. There's already was a tree down earlier today. Officials have cleaned that up. But we know that it's still early in the day and things are going to just continue to pick up. I'm your neighborhood reporter, AJ Douglas in Bainbridge. Behind me, you will see investigators from Bainbridge Public Safety, Police Department, as well as Georgia Bureau of Investigations at the intersection of Powell and Sims, where police have confirmed a body has been found. They are investigating, and I'm told that the GBI will be heading this investigation. Hi, everyone. I'm AJ Douglas, your neighborhood reporter in Bainbridge, and I'm riding around with Patty, one of the newest volunteers with the Salvation Army. We're delivering food boxes to the sick and shut-in here in our community. Find out how an organization that continues to serve those in need in the city of Bainbridge needs your help.
We will not be divided. We will not be silent. And we will not stop until love is louder than hate.
Places like Cairo, Georgia have not been exempt from unwelcome visits from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, better known as ICE.
Immigration is a story of hope, resilience, and the pursuit of a better future.
The city is split into thirds. Black, white, and Hispanic populations are almost equally dominant. City and county leaders have not discussed deportations besides confirming that 2 men were picked up for a probation violation earlier this year. But many immigrants have decided to stay home because that's the only way they feel safe. People in the community decided to walk the streets of the city in solidarity with immigrants they say cannot speak for themselves. I asked a few people there why they showed up for immigrants in Grady County.
So we're deeply connected to this immigration issue, and we want to show that, this country is beautiful and strong because of its diversity.
Emily Connell Umanzar is part of a nonprofit organization that goes to Honduras to complete humanitarian work. That's where she met her husband. They have 3 children.
And it may get me in a lot of trouble, but if you know me, you know I don't care. I am somewhat disappointed to know that I am the only elected official that is here today. Is anybody else out there?
Grady County Board of Education member Teresa Hardy brought up a concern that was on many people's minds.
It was not long ago, well, it was long ago, it was in the 70s, when we had the Civil Rights Movement. And I was here. I was part of that. I was a little girl.
Hardy marched alongside constituents that she's repurposed as friends. Or maybe friends that she's repurposed as constituents. The American Dream March ended on Broad Street at the Grady County Courthouse, where Hardy also expressed disappointment in the lack of participation from the Black community.
We were going through some of the same things that my Hispanic community is going through. That is why I'm so passionate about what I do.
On the steps of the courthouse, organizers attempted to explain why the legal pathway to citizenship is so difficult. They say it's because of time and money. But there's more to this understandably complex issue. Extensive paperwork, language barriers, financial costs, background checks, continuous residency must be proven, and civics exams.
The speeches ended with organizers asking for people to spread the word that it's safe to send their kids to school, but warned that Musk could change that. The tight-knit Latino and Hispanic community of Cairo will continue to warn each other by sharing ICE spottings and traffic stops via Facebook. I'm AJ Douglas, and once a month, I'll share bits from my journey to find something in the middle of nowhere.
I'm AJ Douglas in Grady County, where police are standing in solidarity with a family after a deadly speeding accident.
We honor the memory of Levi Knope, whose life was tragically cut short on January the 29th, 2019 in Grady County due to a reckless and speeding driver.
Levi Knope's mother, Joy Knope, remembers her 18-year-old son.
He was the jock in that he was a baseball player. He loved hunting. He loved fishing. He was popular.
Friday, several Grady and Thomas County emergency agencies came together, asking drivers to simply follow the rules of the road so other lives are not lost. Grady County Sheriff Martin Prince says traffic stops are not about generating revenue for the department.
They exist to prevent tragedies like this from happening. Speeding is not just a violation. It's a danger.
During the Memorial Day holiday weekend of 2024, Georgia State Patrol investigated over 500 crashes, resulting in 250 injuries and 8 deaths. Joy remembers how quickly a driver's decision behind the wheel changed her family's lives.
He was on his way to school that morning, left, said, "I love you, Mom, I'll see you at lunch." And 15 minutes later was in his truck dying on the side of the road that morning.
Sheriff Prince says Memorial Day is a day to remember those who died while making the ultimate sacrifice. He asks that drivers follow the rules of the road to avoid another family from suffering the loss of a loved one.
Shatters families and alters communities forever.
Joy asks drivers to not only consider other drivers, but their families who are expecting them to return home safe.
Whether you value your life or not, value other people's lives.
Since Levi was known for random acts of kindness, his family is working to keep his memory alive by giving back to their community. Follow this story at WTXL.tv to learn how you can be a part of Live Like Levi. In Grady County, I'm AJ Douglas for ABC 27.
Big changes are happening when it comes to how locals are cleaning the beloved waters that run into Lake Seminole.
I'm your neighborhood reporter, AJ Douglas in Decatur County.
Getting a first-hand look at how a local group is working to clear these waters with a unique method. An excavator that can float on water is being used to clear piles of plants out of the waters of Spring Creek, Flint River, and Lake Seminole.
Historically, Lake Seminole has been a tremendous bass fishing lake. At one point, it was in the top 10 in the United States. Today, it doesn't make the top 10 in the Southeast.
Steve Dickman is the founder of Stewards of Lake Seminole. The preservation group is a nonprofit that secures funding to manage invasive species on Lake Seminole in collaboration with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
For the last 40 years, there have been issues about the invasive grasses and things. The problem is there's been no money for the Corps of Engineers.
The Corps gets federal money based on commercial traffic, but local waters are for recreational use. In the past 2.5 years, the stewards have raised $4 million to remove invasive species like Cuban bulrush, primrose, and water hyacinth. Local fisherman Richard Reed says he decided to step up.
Clean up 2 miles of shoreline, and then we go here and do a mile or 2 miles or 3 miles, and hopefully, if we can keep doing it, eventually it'll be more noticeable and a larger effect on resurrecting the lake.
Reed says he's hoping the community sees benefits from their efforts in the long run.
We tend to all be optimists and hope that we're making a difference in improving the lake.
While Dickman says he's using his background as a chemical engineer to run an organization dedicated to reviving waters he's known for decades. He explains why he uses his free time to give back.
To give people hope when there wasn't any hope in the past, and to show them that it can be done if they all work together.
State and federal funding through the Department of Natural Resources alongside local donors like the Fogg Family Charities Trust are helping fund Lake Seminole cleanup efforts.
I'm AJ Douglas in Decatur County for ABC 27. What may seem like protocol has people in this community on edge. I'm AJ Douglas in Decatur County explaining why.
Major players, from the South Georgia District Attorney Joe Mulholland to everyday citizens, are watching closely to make sure a series of revenue bonds submitted by the city of Bainbridge are all by the book.
Just to make sure that there's complete transparency and that the bonds are committee used for an appropriate purpose.
Court documents show that in May, the city submitted Series 2025 bonds. A spokesperson from the city of Bainbridge says the recently approved $3.5 million bond is for upgrades to local infrastructure. In a statement that reads in part, quote, "A significant portion of the funding is allocated for upgrades to aging sewer infrastructure in the Calhoun Street area. The telecommunications portion of the bond will support the completion of our fiber to home project." In part, quote. Mulholland explains why this request is a little different.
It has been piggy-tailed onto basically the old bonds that we had for Danamere, which is now obviously going through bankruptcy proceedings. And so because of that, I just thought that it would be important to have this additional step.
But the city says, quote, "These revenue bonds have nothing whatsoever to do with Danamere Scientific or the Downrange Industrial Park," in part, quote. Despite the vast number of bond validations submitted by the city in the past, people are demanding more transparency in connection to the Series 2025 bonds. Most locals understand the sentiment behind their need to question utility bonds.
Revenue bonds that we've had with the Safer Human Medicine folks, and the city and development authority, I just think it's better to go ahead and take this extra procedure.
Back in 2024, a bond was validated for primate research company Safer Human Medicine. At the time, no motion was filed to intervene to speak against the project. When the DA attempted to appeal this action under the Georgia Court of Appeals, the appeals court ultimately upheld the bond validation, marking a big win for SHM. This time around, Bainbridge neighbor Latoria Green has filed a motion to intervene because she believes she has a stake in how the bonds are used.
The revenue bond validation hearing will be held on June 16th at 9 a.m. In Bainbridge, I'm AJ Douglas for ABC 27.